Plus. We're going to get right to it. The top story today is the latest developments in the strike with the Detroit Three. UAW President Shawn Fain came out today and said, "Don't slow walk us and don't lowball us." He said that there is now time for a new phase of this negotiation and strike process, and he is going to be taking a new approach. There are no new strike targets today, as there have been in the past when he has had a live announcement on a Friday morning. Instead, he told rank and file to be ready to walk out at any time. Go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say at about 10:30 this morning.
Ford thought they could sit back and not make further progress in bargaining because they thought they had the best deal on the table. Ford thought they could wait until Friday morning and then just make a better offer. They stopped being interested in reaching a fair deal now and only became interested in gaming our system of announcing strike expansions on Friday. They thought they figured out the so-called rules of the game, so we changed the rules. And now there's only one rule: pony up. We're at the point in this process where we are looking for one thing only: a deal, a tentative agreement. Ford and the others talk a big game about how American they are, how they provide American-made vehicles. Well, made in America doesn't mean anything if it comes with falling wages, declining living standards, and an uncertain future. That's what our fight's about. We're here to save the American dream. Somebody has to stand up and say enough is enough.
To be clear, Fain went after Ford big time this morning, but there are still no deals with GM and Stellantis. Actually, UAW officials are meeting with Stellantis today. Let's get the latest right now from Rod Maloney, who is live for us. And hey, Rod, let me just ask you, we have covered negotiations like this for years. What did you make of Fain's announcement this morning and the tack that he took going after Ford and revealing really what the conversations were leading up to the Kentucky walkout?
Well, I've been on the phone since the Facebook Live this morning, and I'm hearing out of Ford differing versions of that story. In other words, Ford's not necessarily agreeing with what it is that he said on that, and the belief is that that Ford is doing better than Shawn Fain would have you believe, and so the question of why that is, we don't know. But he one of the things that I think is perspective on all of this, in terms of why Shawn Fain is doing what he's doing and being as tough as he is on not just Ford but all three, is because you have to remember that his predecessors went to federal prison. Okay, Gary Jones, Dennis Williams went to federal prison. You ask why? Well, for a couple of reasons. Dennis Williams in particular was very cozy with the leadership with Sergio Marchionne back then and under FCA, and that they essentially stole from the union. And so when Shawn Fain ran for the presidency, he had to be very clear that he is not cozy with these companies in any manner or form, because that's what the membership came to expect. That's what he ran on. That's how he got elected. Now, he only got elected by a very small margin, but that's where he is. And so it's a situation where he needs to be tough because that's what he ran on. The question is, how tough can he be without going a bridge too far? And that's what a lot of people are saying. When you hear Ford Motor Company yesterday say, hey, look, we've stretched ourselves, we've gone to the limit, that's how these things work. In other words, they take a bucket of money, the CEO, the chairman, the board, they say, okay, this is what we can spend on this national contract. That's what you have to work with. Spread it around the way you like to do that. And the thing is that Shawn Fain is trying to change that system where he thinks he can get still more. But the company is saying essentially, we can't go beyond this if, in fact, we want to be functional, to be able to be competitive in the years ahead. And we can certainly talk about the disparities there. But as it stands right now, the UAW all-in labor cost is about $65 an hour. The transplants, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, they get something around $55 to $56 an hour, and Tesla gets about $48 an hour. So already at this point, before we even have this next contract, competitively, the domestic three are infinitely more expensive on the labor side. And so when you do this and then you add what they're talking about, you're probably looking at 70, 72, maybe even $75 an hour for all-in wages. And that really hurts you competitively at the same time that the White House is pushing for electric vehicles and that whole transition, which costs billions of dollars. So this is a really difficult spot, not only for the car companies, but also for the union, because they know they need to have jobs going forward, and they're demanding that the car companies not only pay them well, but ensure that they have jobs going forward.
You know, it's interesting, Rod, as we've been watching this and kind of Fain picking each company out for certain reasons on certain weeks, and now saying that the strategy is totally changing, that this now that the random nature, or what we would think of the random nature, different than what it's been the last couple of weeks, that there could be walkouts now like what they did to Ford on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, saying, you know what? Not good enough. This is what we're going to do now. We don't want the companies to expect certain things.
Right. Well, he wants to keep everybody guessing. And I've been told that he's stealing a page out of the flight attendants book from about 20, 25 years ago, where they were striking in places that nobody expected, didn't know where it was coming. They want to create chaos. That's essentially what they've admitted to in this. They want to cause chaos. And so they saw the car companies. Heck, we all wait on that Friday morning announcement to see what's going to happen, so we know where to go and what to do next and how to respond to all of this. And Shawn Fain has said, look, if everybody's going to do that, we'll give them a head fake. And that's exactly what he's done. And he can pull the trigger. Now, he's based on his strategy. He could have done that all along anyway. It's just that he set up a certain way of doing business. And now he feels like Ford's gaming that system. And so he said, OK, well, we'll just change it again because we can.
All right. Hey, Rod, I know that you're going to be going off and doing some other things. What can you expect this afternoon, or what are you going to be looking for? Kind of give us an inside of how you're going to go about this. I know you've been on the phone all morning long.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I'm curious if Ford is going to publicly respond to all of this. I have to believe there's a possibility. What they said yesterday is the polar opposite of what Fain said this morning, and so I'm wondering if they're going to go public with any more on that. Ford has traditionally always had the best relationship with the UAW, and I'm sure that this is not helping that relationship at all, and they certainly need that. I was curious as to why he didn't expand the strike. Like, for instance, GM and Stellantis didn't see another strike. Especially when General Motors this time last week was looking at losing the Arlington SUV plant, and they certainly came in with a major concession in order to prevent that. So it might, it leads you to wonder what it is that they're getting behind the scenes in terms of progress. And so there are a lot of guessing here. The larger issue, though, that I want to concentrate on this afternoon is to try and talk about the supplier impact, because we're told that a lot of the suppliers are really going to take a hard hit as a result of this strike if it goes on much longer. So we're going to go and try and work on that as well.
Yeah, and especially when you see Kentucky go down, and I think it was Ford listed about 13 other plants that could start 13, to be impacted here in the next couple of days. All right, Rod Maloney, thanks so much for the context. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you Local 4 News at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock tonight. All right, as we continue this coverage, I want to bring in Merrick Masters. Of course, he's a business professor at Wayne State University, and he has been with us for the last 4 weeks as we have watched everything unfold. So, Merrick, let me just start with you and say, what did you think of what Fain made the announcement today? No new strike targets, but really a change of tactic and a change of tone here to put the squeeze on the three.
I think it reflects that institutionally he's getting frustrated with the lack of progress. He wants to quicken the pace of progress, and he believes that the companies can be more forthcoming. He and the rank and file, I think, simply put, do not trust the companies to be honest with them in this negotiation. And one of the things that there is a difference of perception, as Rod said, between the parties as to what happened. And it reminds me of what Henry Kissinger once said, that you can sit across the room from somebody and be eons apart in perception. And that is what we're dealing with here. The parties are very unsympathetic with each other at this point in time. And what he's going to do is try and test the limit and see exactly how much more forthcoming they can be. And I think that he's on the cusp of announcing major strikes spontaneously.
For me, Merrick, also listening to Shawn Fain this morning, too, it was really like how the sausage is made. And again, getting really an unprecedented look into the back and forth between the UAW and the companies. And then, Rod made the point, will Ford respond to this? And is it in their best interest for Jim Farley to come out? He did that a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I think that it's in their best interest to make their business case and not to get into a tit for tat with him on this, because that's an endless struggle of rhetoric. What they need to do is focus on that they've made a good offer. They've tried to be forthcoming. If they want to set the record straight in terms of how the process unfolded from their perspective, they certainly should do that. But I would focus on their business case. All the companies have a business case to make, and they don't want to put themselves out of business, and they fear that Shawn Fain and his demands will do that. Now, how you get about going to get a deal at this point in time, Shawn Fain also said that he is pleased with the progress that has been made, and they have made concessions. And I think that there are the elements of an agreement if they will just get real about how far they want to push each other. And I think, this is what we got to expect. The union is saying out loud what people have said all along. We're seeing the way they really feel about each other in this negotiation.
Yeah, I wonder, though, and you can give us the art of the deal, or really the art of the negotiation, when a company comes out and says, that's all we've got. When you sit there and say, but really, I can't give any more. Do you take them at face value, or do you always say, nah, there's always got to be something? Like, where's the point?
Well, I think that they do not take them at face value. I think they expect them to say that, and the only way they can determine whether or not the company's actually being honest is to test them. And that's why he called the strike at Louisville, and that's why I presume that he's going to quickly call strikes at the other two companies if they haven't been forthcoming on the issues that are outstanding.
All right, so that is really the next scramble, and thinking about what this is going to look like over the next 48 hours or so. We know that Fain has called for membership to show up at strike points all around the country tomorrow, looking for that large sign of solidarity. He's actually going to be with Mack Truck striking workers in Pennsylvania. What do you anticipate that we will see in the next couple of days, or what's your feel on this, Merrick?
Well, I think he's pretty much announced that he's done with the Friday ritual of announcing strikes, and they will occur anytime. So I wouldn't be surprised if more strikes are announced this weekend, and they may coincide with some of the rallies they're holding in support of the people on the picket line tomorrow. So I would expect action in the very near term. He's had people out for 4 weeks already. They're undoubtedly getting frustrated, want to see the end of this. And I think he thinks the companies can be more forthcoming, and he's going to put them to the test and see if they actually will be more forthcoming. He wants to be able to convince the membership that he did all he could do to get the most out of them. And there are probably some details to settle. He probably immediately wants to focus on getting the JVs, the joint ventures, under the master agreement. And this may be the prod that he thinks he can use to get that done.
All right, Merrick Masters, so we probably won't be seeing you next Friday. I'll probably be seeing you before then, if I were a betting woman.
I think probably that's a good bet.
All right, we'll call you again, and appreciate all of your expertise as you walk us through this and giving us kind of that global view of what we're looking at. Because again, when you have over 30,000 people that are on strike right now and will be receiving strike pay, this is impacting people's lives. Thanks so much, Merrick. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Same to you. Thanks for having me, and take care.